Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Clayton County Board of Education work session. Today is March 27, 2023. It is 6:03 p.m. At this time, I am going to call the meeting to order, starting with calling the roll. Starting with District 1, Ms. Jasmine Bowles. Ms. Bowles has a family emergency and will not attend this evening. District 2, Mr. Mark Christmas. District 3, Jesse Goree, that would be me. District 4, Ms. Victoria Williams. I think she just stepped out. District 5, Dr. D. Haney.
Present.
District 6, Ms. Mary Baker.
Present.
District 7, Ms. Sabrina Hill.
Present.
District 8, Ms. Joy Tillis Cooper.
Present.
District 9, Mr. Benjamin Straker.
Present.
Interim Superintendent, Dr. Anthony Smith.
Present.
Legal Counsel, Mr. Clem Doyle.
Present.
Board Coordinator, Dr. Shantara Rump Carter. Administrative Assistant to the Superintendent and Board, Ms. Arlisha Battle. Administrative Assistant to the Deputy Superintendent and Board, Ms. Don Blau. And I would like to introduce our new board intern. Thank you. Ms. Shamaya. No, I'm Shoemaker. She is one of our students from Jonesboro High School, is that correct? Yes, welcome her, please. All right, at this time, could you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get our board meeting started, it is necessary for us to take a moment of silence because, again, today we've had another tragedy in America that just tugs at my heart. As you all know, that we had a shooting in Nashville earlier today, and 3 children and 3 adults were killed. This time we had a little bit of a different scenario because this time we had a woman that came with armed and into a school building, and we don't understand that. So at this time, I wanted us to take a moment of silence for them, but also we've lost people within Clayton County Public Schools. We lost a 10th grade student at Jonesboro High School, Miss Kayla Boyd. We lost a 4th grade student at Smith Elementary School, Deanna Johnson. We lost a teacher and coach at Sequoia Middle School, Kevin Peace. So let us take. Oh Lord, now it looks like we have another name that came through. Jemiah Freeman, an 8th grade student at Riverdale Middle School. So let's take a moment of silence in honor of these loss. Thank you. And I pray for those families because, you know, when you send your child to school, your expectation is that you're going to pick them up when you come back in the afternoon. On a lighter note, Clayton County residents, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Even though we had some naysayers out there, I want to thank you all for the overwhelming support of the E-SPLOST 7. I believe it was 79%. I don't know if that's been our highest so far, but Give yourselves a hand, and thank you all so much for supporting public education, and especially Clayton County Public Schools. Now, on this agenda, I see board recognitions, and I guess I'm really not sure why that's here. Is there a reason for board recognitions, Mr. White? Okay. Oh. Oh, well, thank you. Oh, because, I was wondering, I did happen to see some elected officials in the stand out here in the audience, and I guess I should have recognized them. Chairman Turner, I see you. Are there more elected officials? All the elected officials, please stand up. All right, Chairman Turner.
This is Michael Faison, proud principal of Riverdale Elementary School. It is my honor and privilege to say thank you, thank you, proud principal of Riverdale Elementary Schools Board of Education. Honor and privilege you all to say thank you to the Clayton County Public Schools Board of Education. You all are the real Divine Nine. And to District 3, Chairwoman Jessie Goree, thank you so much for your unwavering support to Riverdale Elementary School and to me personally. I know that I can always count on you. And in Clayton County Public Schools, it's all about the children. So with that said, I have very personal messages from my students at Riverdale Elementary School. Stay tuned.
Mr. Straker, thank you for ensuring the students of Clayton County are equipped and have the necessary skills that allows us to see our full potential. We thank you for your service. Thank you for all you've done. Bye-bye.
Ms. Cooper, thank you for your contributions to the students and family of Clayton County. Your hard work is dedicated and unmatched. Thank you, Ms. Cooper.
Ms. Williams, thank you for keeping the students of CCPS success at the forefront. You make a powerful difference in our communities and for our students. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Ms. Hill, thank you for your continued support and efforts to improve student learning and academic success in Clayton County. Know that your students of Clayton County appreciate you.
Ms. Baker, thank you for continuing to help students of Clayton County thrive and grow during extraordinary times. We appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Ms. Corey, thank you for being an awesome chair and leader for Clayton County Public Schools, ensuring that we have all the tools and resources needed to be successful scholars here at Riverdale Elementary. Thank you for pouring into our schools with your genuine care. We appreciate your support, service, and dedication. Thank you.
Dr. Haney, thank you for advocating on behalf of the students of Clayton County. Your service is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Ms. Bowles, thank you for helping create opportunities for the students of Clayton County Public Schools. We appreciate your commitment to the students. Mr. Christmas, thank you for your efforts and dedication to the students and communities of Clayton County. We thank you for making the students of CCPS a priority. We thank you.
Greetings, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and distinguished board members. I am Dr. Cassandra Hopkins, proud principal at McGarrett Elementary School. I am Dr. Cassandra Hopkins, proud principal at McGarrett Elementary School.
I am Dr. Jacqueline Hunter, assistant principal.
On behalf of McGarrett Elementary School, we would like to send a heartfelt thank you for all that you have done, are currently doing, and will do in the future for all the stakeholders in Clayton County Public Schools.
You are truly the best panel of board members in the entire world, hands down.
Thank you all for building a better tomorrow today.
Mount Zion Primary School says thank you to the Clayton County Public School System board members, but especially District 9 member Benjamin Straker. Woohoo!
Greetings from Jonesboro High School Cardinals to our Clayton County School Board members. We would like to take a moment just to say that we appreciate you and we thank you for your service and commitment to our schools and communities.
Hello, we are Mountain Elementary School, Junior Maid of Love, and Student Council. We have a message for you. We appreciate you. I appreciate you for supporting me. Thank you for your hard work and all that you do. Clayton County Rock!
Greetings, dynamic board member of Clayton County Public Schools. Just want to say how much we appreciate you. This is Kimberly Barnett, proud principal of Jonesboro Middle School, home of the Mighty Bears. And I just want to echo what I'm sure everyone else is saying, that we absolutely love you and we appreciate all that you do for us. Thank you once again. And we want you to keep doing what you are doing, supporting our students.
Greetings, esteemed school board of Clayton County Public Schools. As the proud principal of Eddie White Middle Academy and on behalf of our faculty and staff, I'd like to wish you a happy National School Board Appreciation Month. Thank you for all your service and everything you do in support of our students, faculty and staff, and community.
Greetings, my name is Dr. Pamela Pitts, proud principal of Mara High School. On behalf of the faculty and staff at Mara High School, I would like to say Happy National School Board Appreciation Month to our extremely hardworking school board members. Thank you for operating in a spirit of excellence without excuses.
Greetings. My name is Rochelle Harris, and I am the proud principal of Mount Zion Elementary. On behalf of all of the scholars, faculty, and staff members and community members, we would like to say thank you so very much to the Clayton County Board of Education for all that you do for us each and every day. You are truly appreciated. Thank you.
On behalf of Ash Creek Center, we appreciate you, school board.
Happy National School Board of Education Month from Roberta T. Smith Elementary School and our school community. We wanted to say we really appreciate our Clayton County Board of Education, and we had a little song for you. You're simply the best. Oh, yeah. You're better than all the rest. Uh-huh. And a special shout out to our very own board member, Mr. Straker. Yeah. Enjoy.
Greetings, dynamic school board leaders. I am Dr. Tangela Benjamin, the proud principal at Harper Elementary School, where we are working on the work every day. We appreciate all that you do, and we as a family of Hawks would just like to share with you that we are excited about your celebrations, and thank you for all that you do to support us every day.
There aren't many school boards who can say that they've supported both the public traditional side of schools and the charter side of their organizations. We are extremely and immensely excited to be a part of the Clayton County Public Schools and all of the entities that support the systems of students growing and becoming better and building better for tomorrow here in Clayton County. Thank you, board, for all that you do. We appreciate you, and we look forward to continually serving.
Greetings. I am Dr. Shakira Cheney, proud principal of North Clayton Middle School. On behalf of the faculty and staff here, we would like to wish our dynamic board members a happy National School Board Appreciation Month. Thank you for all that you do for our schools and our communities. Your hard work and dedication does not go unnoticed. We truly appreciate everything that you do.
To our Clayton County Public Schools School Board members, we thank you for all that you do to support education in Clayton County. We believe that Clayton County Public Schools has the best school board this side of the United States of America because of what you do to put learning first, employees first, students first, families first in Clayton County, Georgia. We want to say a sincere thank you from the best middle school in the state of Georgia. Who are we? Thank you.
Greetings, everyone, from Babb Middle School. This is Dr. Deborah Green with a sincere and heartfelt appreciation message for all of our school board members. Thank you so much for your service to our community and to our children, and especially to our own school board member, Miss Sabrina Hill. Thank you for serving, truly serving Babb Middle School. We hope you enjoy your School Board Appreciation Month. Thank you.
Good evening. We just wanted to take a few moments to let you know how much we appreciate you and all that you do for the students of Clayton County Public Schools, the faculty, and the staff. Happy School Board Appreciation Week. If I could sing, I would really sing that to you. Happy School Appreciation Week. But I'm not a singer. I can dance, but I'm in the office, so I'll save that for you. But I do want you to know that I am leaping for joy for you all. Happy School Board.
Tonight, we do have some special presentations to the board. Want to read a proclamation from Governor Brian Kemp on School Board Appreciation Week. Our children's education is an essential element in Georgia's continued prosperity and success. And whereas for Georgia to continue to grow and prosper, we must commit to providing trained teachers and staff and adequate resources to all schools. And whereas Georgians elected to boards of education collaborate with school systems, parents, businesses, and community leaders so that students can become educated, productive members of the state and nation. Now, therefore, I, Brian P. Kemp, Governor of the state of Georgia, do hereby proclaim March 16th through the 17th of 2023 as School Board Appreciation Week in the state of Georgia. And we also have a letter of appreciation from the State Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Richard Woods. School Board Appreciation is a time to share and honor you, the caretakers of local public education, and through the Georgia Department of Education, we do appreciate your service. Members of Georgia's local boards of education are ordinary citizens doing extraordinary work to lead their community schools. We thank you for being so committed to our faculty, staff, administrators, and Georgia's more than 1.7 million students. Your dedication to leading Georgia to the future is very much appreciated. And now we turn it over to Mr. Jeffrey Turner, Chairman of the Clayton County Board of Commissioners.
All right, good evening, everyone. So I'm Chairman Jeff Turner of Clayton County Board of Commissioners, and I definitely have to put my 2 cents worth in, as well as the Board of Commissioners, because this is School Board Appreciation Month. And let me say this, I'm not gonna read this because I don't have eyes like Mr. White over there, and Mr. Stryker said, you got 2 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and use it wisely. But let me say this, as being the chairman of this county, I love the fact that we have a board that, number one, we can work with, we being the Board of Commissioners. When there's inclement weather, when there's a natural disaster or something that's going on in Clayton County that impacts our county, our citizens, I don't have to ask. They're the first ones to call me. What can we do to help? Please give them a round of applause. They are truly doing a job, a tremendous job. Yes. And we all know that our school system is the beating heart of any community. And they are doing some fantastic and great things in our community. I am so glad that the citizens chose to pass this E-SPLOST, because for everything that I'm hearing and seeing that this board wants to do, it's going to be great. Clayton County, grab a hold of your seats, because we're in for a ride. There's going to be some great advances made in Clayton County where people outside of Clayton County is going to say, I want to be in Clayton County. I want to go to that school system, but not only for the county, but the school system, but the county as a whole. Now, again, I'm not going to read this, but a proclamation to recognize School Board Appreciation Month. And on behalf of my colleagues and I want to present this to Madam Chair Goree and to the board for the excellent job that you have been doing, and ask that you continue to keep up the good work for our citizens, especially our children. Thank you.
Thank you. I will accept this on behalf of the board.
I'll take it.
It's Mr. Rodney Jordan with us, Principal Rodney Jordan from Lovejoy High School. Is he with us this evening? Please come on up, sir. I have a special gift from the staff at Lovejoy High School, and I'll let this great principal here do the honor.
Thank you, sir. To Madam Chair and members of the board, I really feel kind of odd giving this presentation, because there's really nothing that we can give that could really adequately express our thankfulness for the work that you all do on a daily basis. And we, of course, recognize our board member, Ms. Jasmine Bowles, for the advocacy and support that she continually gives us. But when I thought about this, really, we are not, although divided into 9 districts, you all are the advocacy warriors on the front line for all of Clayton County. And we wanted to do some, absolutely. And we just wanted to show our thankfulness, our appreciation for that way you advocate, I mean, with fervor and tenacity and everything that you do. If you know anything about leadership, one of the greatest voices in our nation is John C. Maxwell, and he said, great leaders know the way, go the way, and show the way. And we believe that the Board of Education at Clayton County Public Schools is an exemplar model of that exact sentiment. So on behalf of Mr. Derek Manning, Interim Superintendent of Cluster C, myself, the administrative team, and the entire Lovejoy community, we just want to give you our thanks and say Happy School Board Members Appreciation Month to you.
Thank you.
And that was for President Brown.
In addition,
We're going to do Mr. Jordan's photograph.
okay.
I'm sorry. And before Dr. Smith comes up, is Valencia Williamson here, please, representing the Chamber of Commerce?
Well said, Principal Jordan. Well said. I'll just reiterate the great things that Mr. Jordan said about this board. A phenomenal board, been voted as a board of excellence for a number of times, and the advocacy that they put forth in support of the students and families and this community is unmatched. So let's give it up for our Board of Education, y'all. And we would like to give each member a plaque. The Clayton County Board of Education for Outstanding Service Award presented to each of you. And it simply states, an appreciation for your leadership and many years of dedicated service as a Clayton County Board of Education member by the interim superintendent and the staff of Clayton County Public Schools on March 27, 2023. And each plaque displays the years of service that you provided to this community on your plaque. Thank you.
Yeah, we're doing a picture. Well, I thought did you want to do a picture with Dr. Smith and your plaques? I know you do pictures with him all the time. Oh, sorry.
They all wrapped up.
And as you head back to your seats, please note that the legislative delegation is also having a proclamation in honor of your service to the students and families of Clayton County, and that will be presented at a later date. And we thank you.
On behalf of the board, I would like to thank all of those schools who gave us recognition. Thanks to this amazing staff that we have. We couldn't be successful without what you do for us. We try to always put children first. We serve our community. We serve our constituents. We make decisions for our constituents. They're not old enough to speak for themselves, so we try to do our very best. And we just thank the staff again. This is greatly appreciated because we're in a world where it's hard to get some acclaim. And thanks for the hard work that we do. At this time, I'm going to continue on the agenda. And I'm going to read the ethics statement. In accordance with Board Policy BH, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of such conflicts. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict with respect to any matter scheduled to come before the board at this meeting or appearing on our proposed agenda? If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of the conflict and refrain from participation in the matter involved. At this time, I need to adopt the agenda, so I need a motion for us to adopt the agenda. Mr. Christmas,
So moved, Madam Chair.
Ms. Hill.
I second, Madam
It's
Chair.
been moved and properly seconded that we adopt the agenda. Please vote. So, wait a minute. I think I voted for you, Dr. Haynes. You want to vote? Okay, I think, all right. And we have a unanimous vote, 8-0, to adopt the agenda. Okay, the next item. The next items on the agenda are from executive session, and in executive session, we just discuss, real estate and personnel. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Smith for the personnel recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, staff, and community members. Board members, I would like for you to consider the recommendation for the assistant principal of Huey Elementary School for Miss Lucretia Jackson.
All right, board members, I need for the assistant principal at Huey Elementary School of Miss
Lucretia.
Let me see if I, sorry. Mine has timed out. Lucretia Jackson. She's actually gonna have to correct me. Miss Williams.
I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendations for the assistant principal at Huey Elementary, Lucretia Jackson.
All right, and I need a second, Miss Cooper.
I second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the assistant principal at Huey Elementary School. Please vote. All right, and it's a unanimous vote. Is
Ms. Jackson, please stand if you're present. Congratulations. Thank you, members of the board. I would also like for you to...
Before you move on, Miss Jackson, could you give me the correct pronunciation of your name, please, since I messed it up today? Okay, thank you so much, and congratulations. And please don't leave, you all. We never get to take pictures, so before we go, everybody come up so we can get a picture. All right, go ahead, Dr. Smith.
Also, I'd like the board to consider the position of coordinator of adult education, and I'd like you to consider Ms. Nicole McDowell.
All right, board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation of the coordinator for adult education, Ms. Nicole McDowell, and I'm gonna make that motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. I need a second. Dr. Haney.
Madam Chair, I do second that motion for
All
Ms.
right.
Nicole McDowell for the adult education.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. I need you to vote, please. All right, and it is again a unanimous vote.
Is Mrs. McDowell in the audience? Oh, thank you. Congratulations. I would also like for the board to consider for the position of Major of Safety and Security, Mr. Curtis Williams.
All right, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation for the Major of Safety and Security, Mr. Curtis Williams. Ms. Baker.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for Major of Safety and Security being Mr. Curtis Williams.
I need a second. Ms. Hill.
Madam Chair, I second that motion.
All right, it's been properly moved and second. Please vote. All right, and again, it is a unanimous vote. Is Mr. Hill.
Congratulations, sir.
Mr. Williams.
Mr. Williams, Curtis Williams. Thank you. And also, board members, I'd like for you to consider the position for Personnel Review Officer for Andrew Scott.
Board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation of Mr. Andrew Scott as a personnel review officer for equity and compliance. Mr. Straker?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for personnel review officer of equity and compliance, Mr. Andrew Scott.
I'm going to second that motion. And board members, it has been moved and seconded properly, so please vote. All right, again, we have a unanimous vote. Mr. Scott?
Mr. Scott, are you present? Congratulations, sir. Those are all of my recommendations, Madam Chair, board members.
All right. I believe that we have another matter pending, and that would be the easement. Ms. Baker, I need a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the motion for an easement on McDonough Street as discussed.
All right, I need a second. Mr. Straker?
I second the motion, Madam Chair.
All right. At this time, it's been moved and properly second. Let's vote, please. All right, we have 7 in favor and 1 abstention. All right, we have another matter in regards to real estate. And I need a motion for the resolution for the property discussed in executive session. And I'm gonna make that motion. All right. Mr. Straker, are you seconding?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. We pass a resolution for the property as discussed in executive session. All right, it's a unanimous vote. All right, the next item on the agenda are updates to the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute. Yes, all of our members that were voted on in executive session, could you all please come forward? We're gonna stand here. You all come on up in front of us. I need someone to please move the podium.
Congratulations. Congratulations. All right. Congratulations, sir. All right, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Congratulations, sir. All right, sir. All right. No, put y'all center right here.
Put your hand on the end. So come on over back. Okay. Oh, turn your name.
Y'all come down some, y'all get a little bit more centered. Come back this way just a little bit. Right there.
All right, the next item on the agenda are updates to the board. I'm going to turn this over to you, Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could get Dr. Monica Wiley to come up and give us an update on our recent Cognia visit.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent Smith. I would like to first say, if this works, that we are being recommended for our accreditation. Let me start off by saying that, okay? We are. So I want to first thank everyone in our school system, parents, board members, all stakeholders, because this was a district-wide process. And it was truly a district-wide process. We could not have done this without all of our stakeholders being involved. So I am not going to read every slide because you had the opportunity to see it beforehand. I will only highlight a few things. And just so you know, this is our evaluation rubric, 1 through 4, 1 being the lowest, 4 being the highest. And our district received quite a few level 3s and some level 2s. So this presentation is not really going to focus on the level 3s. It's going to focus because we have to explain where we are right now with our level 2s, because this is a continuous process. And our level 2s are the reason why we have our areas of improvement. So it's important that you know where we are and our stakeholders know as well. So that is why I'm looking at the 2s tonight. So as you are aware, we do have 4 key characteristics. So we're going to group our presentation today by the characteristics. The first one is the culture of learning. Our evaluators highlighted our equity project that stemmed from a recommendation from our Board of Education. So with our equity project, our excellence and equity in education project, what we call E3, they said it's a great starting point, but they want to recommend that we have a pilot group of teachers, which is a great recommendation because we are able to put our practices in place in the classroom where it matters quickly. So that is why they're recommending that we have a pilot group of teachers and engage them in the training as well. We do have 1 level 2 in this particular characteristic, and that deals with our students having positive relationships with the adults in the building. Through this self-assessment process, it worked. Because through our own self-assessment, we realized that we do have some work to do in this aspect. So receiving this level 2 was not a shock to us. So we began working immediately on this particular standard. Our student services, they are now evaluating the effectiveness of our fidelity of our program that we currently have in our school. So we are already working on this particular standard. So with the leadership for learning, they highlighted the abundance of professional learning that we have in our district, which we already know that. We have some great professional learning. The key piece is that we have so many vacancies, and they want to ensure that our professional learning is actually retaining our professional staff. So we have already started that with Dr. Young and her team. We have already started looking at what types of professional learning opportunities that we have, making sure that they are strategic and focused to ensure that we are retaining and recruiting, because when you retain, it's easier to recruit by word of mouth. So we have already started working on Standard 10 and Standard 13 because they all deal with professional learning. With the engagement of learning, don't scream, don't shout, because we have 4 level 2s in this particular characteristic. That's where the rubber meets the road. this is where we should always want to show improvement. So we are okay with this because we want to improve wherever we are. I highlighted on here in red some themes. You will see the themes in this particular characteristic talks about the student, talks about their learning potential, talks about their student voice, their learning, their self-confidence, and their love of learning, and making sure that it's learner-centered. So that is the theme with our level 2s for this particular characteristic. However, we do have some highlights in our presentation. We know that our students have the opportunity to experience a curriculum that is diverse. This was highlighted through our instructional materials adoption process. They were awed at the fact that we actually look to make sure our instructional materials deal with or value the backgrounds and the culture of our students. Continuing with engagement of learning, they talked about our high impact practices. Upon Dr. Young's tenure here, when she first started, that's the first thing she looked at. So we know that there are improvements that we need to make with our high impact practices, and we are working on that work. We are looking at our high impact practices, making sure that our staff, not just our teachers, but our principals, assistant principals, district level administrators have the training necessary to ensure that we are actually implementing the high impact practices with fidelity. And we are monitoring, and not just district level staff monitoring, but our principals and assistant principals, our academic coaches are able to go out there and see and evaluate where we are with our high impact practices. And then we have, our growth of learning. They gave us two highlights with growth of learning. They saw evidence that we are practicing the Plan, Do, Check, Act systematically around our district. So that's why they wanted to highlight our Plan, Do, Check, Act method. They also highlighted the fact that in this district, we're not just looking at academic achievement data, we're looking at other key data points as well. So that told them we're looking at the whole child, the whole picture of our students. So they wanted to make sure that they highlighted that as well, because we know when key aspects of a child is missing, they can't learn. So they wanted to highlight the fact that we're looking at the entire child. What they did talk about in standards 25 and 27 is that we have to make sure that we're looking at research. We're conducting our own action research. This one is new. So don't go run and tell someone that we didn't do well in action research. This one is new to every school system in the country that's under Cognia. So this is a struggle for everyone. But just because it's a struggle for everyone does not mean that we're not beginning to look at action research in our classrooms, because we are. The second standard, standard 27, talks about giving our students diverse academic and non-academic needs, looking at their needs and what appropriate interventions that they need as individuals. They highlighted the fact that we have a lot of interventions, but if you can recall from one of the board retreats, Dr. Young presented that we have a lot of assessments. They said the same thing, that we have an abundance of assessments and our teachers do not have the opportunity to implement the interventions with fidelity. So that is why we have already started discussing what assessments are important, what assessments we don't need, and what assessments do we need to evaluate whether or not it's being effective for our individual students. So this was not a shocker to anyone, because you had already heard Dr. Young's presentation during one of the board retreats. And so our current efforts, of course, is that we are reviewing our assessment system. Our first area of improvement talks about our professional development. They want to make sure that our professional development deepens the knowledge and skills of our staff. And when they talk about staff, they don't just mean our teachers. They mean every single staff member in this district. We have to focus strategically on our professional learning of all of our staff members because we are all engaged and responsible for our children, all of us. The next area of improvement talks about our mentoring and induction processes. They want to make sure that we are evaluating the effectiveness of our mentoring and induction process so that we can retain our teachers a little more and do a better job at that. So that is one of our area of improvements. Our accreditation score, we scored a 296, almost there at 300, 301, which would have been the next level, but anywhere between 220 and 300 suggests that we will have areas of improvement, which we have 2, which I'm going to be honest with you, 2 is a very good number, a very good number. I've seen districts with 5, 6, 7, and 9. Been there, done that. We have 2. So we're going to use those 2 to improve our school system and our practices. Our next steps, of course, we're sharing our findings in our report right now. We're going to use our report to strengthen our efforts. We're going to celebrate our success, which we should always celebrate our successes. School systems are the one organization that do not celebrate as much as possible. So we need to do that. And we're going to continue our improvement journey. And finally, the difference in the process now is that we would normally have to do a report in 2 years. Our report is going to be ongoing. Our lead evaluator will be engaged with us throughout this entire 5-year process. And with that, please note that this is a recommendation that we receive our renewal accreditation. I keep saying renewal, our renewal accreditation. The Cognia organization, the commission, they meet on March 31st and they give the final vote, and then we should receive our certificate and letter in the mail. And with that, are there any questions for me?
Board members, questions? Ms. Baker?
First of all, I think anybody can improve. So I think that I'm not worried too much about that, but how quickly do they want proof of improvement or checking off the box? I know we're on a 5-year schedule, but I'm assuming that they want that sooner than 5 years.
It's not really checking off the box, it's continuously improving our practices in those areas. So every now and then, Dr. Anderson and I, she's our lead evaluator, we will meet. I will give her artifacts. She'll look at our artifacts. She'll give us advice, and it'll just be ongoing throughout these 5 years. You're welcome.
Ms. Hill?
Yes, first I want to just say thank you. Thank you. That was extraordinary, very helpful, very informative, and I greatly appreciate. And I just want to ask, what do we have in place to measure our progress? I know that we have 5 years to meet that goal, but are we having steps in between to show our progress and to show the improvement that can be reported back or can be shared with us throughout the process?
Absolutely. I have not created the timeline just yet because this is hot off the presses on Thursday. I just received it on Thursday. So we will absolutely come up with a timeline. I will meet with Dr. Smith, Dr. Young, and Dr. Hendricks to talk about where we are and when we want to update the board. And you will receive that timeline as well.
Thank you so much. And I do want to just reiterate, we should celebrate our successes. This was great.
Thank you.
Dr. Wiley, thank you so much for your report, and you brought out some very important points. As I've worked for what we used to call advanced ed and now Cognia, I think we did very well. I believe that throughout our United States, with everything that everyone's been through with the pandemic, we're probably almost in the same boat. Correct. We all know that we need some improvement, especially most every school district needs help in student achievement. We know that our children have lost a lot not being face-to-face, and I'm sure that we will be doing great. We definitely should celebrate our successes because we are a very successful district, and that's what they told us every time they come. We need to tell our story. And as I said when we began, our constituents have faith in us. They showed us by overwhelmingly supporting our E-SPLOST, and we will be doing exceedingly and abundantly well. Thank you. Dr. Smith, you have something?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. If I could get Dr. Wiley to stay at the podium, and if you could, please introduce our next esteemed guest as they provide an update in terms of doing audits with our various departments and schools.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Smith. It is a pleasure to reintroduce to our Board of Ed and introduce to our stakeholders, Dr. Gaston and Dr. Lee, who are our departmental auditors who have been engaged in our school system since January. So they are going to do an update to the board regarding their findings and where they are in the process.
Chair Goree, Vice Chair Straker, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent Smith. It is a pleasure, I tell you, visiting with the staff of Clayton County Public Schools. You will see that the objectives of this audit are comprehensive. We're looking at the operations and practices at the district level and school level. That word practice is extremely important because we know practice becomes informal policy. And so we're looking at that as we're assessing the work here in the district. We are assessing the effectiveness and efficiency of the district's operations, policies, procedures, and practices, that word again. And we want to make sure that there is compliance with industry standards, state and federal laws, regulations, guidelines, and of course, board policy. We're using a mixed methods approach because we know that both quantitative and qualitative data are important if we're going to triangulate and really understand what is actually occurring and give an accurate report. This means that we're doing site visits where we're serving as participant observers. We're doing direct observations. We're collecting artifacts and analyzing those artifacts. We're doing individual and group, focus group interviews, and we're using surveys and questionnaires. The divisions and departments that I am currently auditing and reviewing are administrative services, business services, career, technical, and agricultural education, equity and compliance, facilities and maintenance, research, evaluation, assessment, and accountability, special education, student discipline, federal programs, and transportation. My esteemed colleague, Dr. Lee, is working with human resources, nutrition, instructional technology, support services, as well as professional learning, doing a deep dive and really looking to see what is occurring there. In professional learning, she's looking at those training and professional learning programs we have for instructional program, classified staff, as well as district and school-based leadership. The departments that we are observing and auditing collaboratively are communications, public relations and marketing, teaching and learning and strategic improvement, technology, and student services. And those school levels that we are taking a look at, Dr. Lee is working with the elementary schools. I'm working with all secondary schools, including alternative education. And at this time, I will turn it over to my colleague.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and other distinguished members of the board and everyone that are Clayton County Public School stakeholders. It is indeed a pleasure to share with you this evening. I've had the good pleasure of working with Dr. Gatson, as he just so aptly shared. And this has really been a very rewarding experience, seeing all of the good things that are going on in the district and having an opportunity to look at areas of needed improvement and providing suggestions and support to department heads as we've gone along. We have triangulated data by interviews, focus groups, et cetera, as Dr. Gatson stated. And we've also administered 3 surveys. You have those results in your board packets. We've looked at central level departments' effectiveness, where those departments considered the work of their colleagues to see how things are going and where areas of improvement exist. We've also done a principals perception survey where all of our principals weighed in on how things are going in the district. And that spoke to the needs of the local schools as well as how the departments can better support the efforts at the school level. We also did a first-year teachers perception survey. One of the main things we want to do, particularly in this day and age, is retain as many teachers as we can. When you invest in training and professional development, you want to hold on to those good people. Also, we want to make certain that they have a voice and agency where they can talk about their concerns, their needs, and all of these surveys gave them an opportunity to answer open-ended questions, which would afford them an opportunity to give general comments that we may not have thought to ask about as it relates to the surveys in particular. Right now, we have a final survey that will be administered after spring break. It's going to be all-inclusive. It will be administered to everyone at the local school site. So counselors, so anybody that has a direct or indirect association and affiliation with the school site to see how effective the district is supporting their efforts in terms of doing their jobs and meeting the needs of students and staff. I keep waiting for somebody to advance. I got spoiled. One of the things that I think the district is so fortunate to have is an interim superintendent who is very focused on teachers and making certain that they have all of the supports necessary to do the job. I used to tell my staff members that if you don't feed the teachers, they're going to eat the students. There's actually a book entitled that. So Dr. Smith has put a great deal of emphasis in supporting teachers. We recognize that all the research says that they are the #1 deciding factor as it relates to student achievement, because that's who's with the kids all day. So Dr. Smith has added a teacher advocate to our team, and we welcome her. She is coming in to help build a sense of community and to eliminate teaching in isolation. Sometimes teachers feel like they don't have anyone to talk to. So some of our next steps, we've already begun visiting schools, but some of our next steps will be going into schools and having that advocate in a conference room such that teachers can come and speak to the advocate on their planning periods, on their lunch periods, and we will be working with that advocate to develop questions for focus groups so that teachers can feel supported. They need a listening ear and they need to be able to have their voices heard. We're going to also see that this will empower teachers inside and outside of the classroom. When we talk about some of the main reasons teachers leave the profession, or particularly a school system, it's because they feel like they've not had the support. So the interim superintendent has taken this step, and we certainly applaud him for that. Also, in looking at the teacher advocate, they're going to help create a positive environment in the classroom. It also will increase effectiveness in teaching and learning, and it's going to make a difference across all of our schools. That's the desire. Now, as we have interviewed and held focus groups, I was sharing with Dr. Smith's cabinet this morning that I myself have held over 30 interviews with district leaders and support staff. Dr. Gatson as well, over 30 interviews. We've held a number of focus groups. I had an opportunity to hold a focus group with all of your leadership coaches in the district who were high-performing principals either in our district, Clayton, or other districts in the metro area. And we've also identify a number of positives by going through these focus groups, by looking at the survey data. So the district has a number of positives that I'd like to share with you at this time. First and foremost, the district is rich in programs and resources that's supporting improving outcomes for students. If it exists, Clayton County has it. It's not going to get any better than this district in terms of what you have at the disposal of your staff, and I applaud your efforts for that. Everybody in this district is focusing on a safe and orderly environment, and that's so important. We discussed in cabinet this morning that if you can have all the programs, et cetera, you can have some of the best teachers, but if you don't have a safe and orderly environment where teachers can teach and students can learn, then it's just not going to take place. We're also excited about the overall efficient daily operations of schools. When Cognia comes in, they come in with a big room and a large magnifying glass. And what was just shared with you tonight is a very favorable report. Of course, there are areas of needed improvement, but that's the nature of your work, continuous improvement. But overall, your schools are running well and your district office is running well. I want to share some additional positives. Everyone that we've talked to is in full support of system-wide improvement. They understand that there is no perfect world, and they understand that there's always room for improvement, and they are embracing what we are saying, sharing, and that is exciting because you have to first admit there is a need before you can benefit and grow. We also see a great deal of advocacy and support for use of best practices to the benefits of students. That's at the district level. Everybody understands that the work from the district level is in support and service to the schools. That's the main reason we exist. Also, there's a pervasive belief across the district that Dr. Smith is the one to make this happen. You've heard me mention his name. I like Dr. Smith, but I'm just telling you what the people are saying. This is not a Val Lee. They think that he is sincere, and the kinds of things that we've heard about him speaks to what he's already shared with the staff, and they have confidence in him to bring it to pass, and that speaks volumes. All right. Just like Cognia identified some highlights or very positives, favorables, but then they came back and said, these are some recommendations. These are some areas where you may want to focus. And at this time, I will share some general observations and determinations that speak to some needs. Some are immediate, and we've shared them with the superintendent and responsible parties, and some will lend themselves to ongoing support and development. One of the main things is we need district-wide more of a customer service orientation. This is a customer service industry. The children are our customers, the teachers are our customers, the parents are our customers, and that is one of the top things. We've got to let everyone know that everything that's being done in this district is for children because that's who we're serving. Also, we need higher levels of accountability. You know, there were a number of things that were in place that are no longer in place, and we're having to rebuild. But the thing of it is, once you rebuild, hold on to it. Hold everybody accountable so that the district can continue to move forward and you don't find yourself revisiting and rebuilding over and over. We also need specific and targeted training for support. As I shared with Cabinet, that's for everyone in the district. Everyone in the district needs support. As we have met with your department heads and your district leaders, I'm going to say up front, you have some very, very sharp people in those positions. And yet, everybody, because some of them are new to the position, can benefit for specific and targeted training and support. We've already been bringing in consultants, and as late as today, connected one of your district leaders with a consultant from another district who will be able to benefit them and help them to move forward and move their department forward. We also need better communication and increased collaboration. We're finding that a lot of departments are working in silos. They need to have better opportunities to communicate, and they need to make certain that they are collaborating. We want to make certain that teachers who are being professionally developed through HR get the same thing that teachers who are being professionally developed through the Professional Learning Center. There has to be collaboration and joint efforts so that we are providing the same support to all teachers with fidelity. I give you that as one example. We also need improved internal controls. The left hand needs to know what the right hand is doing, and we have to inspect what we expect. It's one thing to say this is the expectation, but how do you know that it's being met? That's a part of those internal controls. Additionally, in terms of needs, we need increased oversight and monitoring. Dr. Hendricks said so aptly, why do we have leadership, Dr. Hendricks? To solve problems. When you have increased oversight and monitoring, it's ongoing solving of problems, and it's ongoing continuous improvement efforts. This was a typo in terms of internal controls, but not really. I think that it was very fortuitous. We really need those internal controls in the district. Also, an intentional focus on team building. It needs to be in terms of that open communication. If I have concern in my department and we are interfacing and collaborating, we can help each other. Also, if there's a breakdown, you ought not be concerned about what I'm going to think or feel when you call it to my attention. We're about children. We're about being the best that we can be for the community that we serve, which are our schools and our students. So it has to be a focus on team building. It's not different departments. It's all one system, supposed to be undergirding the board policies, the interim superintendent's vision, and supporting schools. Additionally, inclusive practices in planning and decision-making. We're finding that a lot of decisions are being made that impact the schools without principals necessarily being at the table. This has to go on across the district. Won't worry about any particulars right now, but they will be reflected in your report that you will get. The audit outcomes is going to be a detailed report for the interim superintendent and the board. Dr. Gadsden and I just this weekend came to the conclusion that we are going to provide you with 2 documents. One will lend itself to the findings and recommendations for all of your central level departments. The other will be relative to schools, and it will be divided by levels. So you will see what the challenges are, what the recommendations are, and we will also open up with background information to give you a lot of what is going well. Again, things are going well overall, but it's just a continuous improvement effort. So all of our findings and recommendations will be there, and then we will give some guiding and future direction so that your continuous improvement is ongoing and all to the benefit of students. We gave you a number of documents in your board packet. We gave you the survey results so that you can have an opportunity to see what is being said. We want you to know that as we said to you on February 4th, that we would give a profile to every school. We have done that. And then we took the liberty of taking all those profiles and summarizing them by level and adding specifics for recommendations that they can be implemented right now. Those are in your packet, those level summaries. We've also shared them with the Deputy Superintendent of Teaching and Learning. Much of it speaks to her work. We also gave you a district readiness profile that looks at all of your academic content areas and where the district stands as it relates to that. And then we've given you sample department audits. We gave you one for facilities and maintenance and also one for nutrition services. Those are examples of what will be in the final documents when you receive them. Dr. Gadsden, is there anything else you want to add?
Other than questions.
We're happy to entertain any questions that you may have. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to serve you in this capacity.
All right, board members, questions. I see Mr. Straker.
Dr. Gaston, thank you so much for this report. Being a business major, I thought that when we discussed in the February retreat, that the report would have came, and this is just my preference, would have came with the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats at the very beginning of the report. I think that would work out better for us because we're board members and we don't have to really deep dive into the specifics, but we really do want to know why our district is strong, what are those weaknesses, and what threats are coming at us that we need to be prepared for as a board. One of the things I want to horn in on, and this has been a concern of mine for the last couple of months, I'm looking and observing in my 8th year of being a board member that when problems arise, and I just want you to see if you could collaborate this, but when problems are arising in our district, I'm pointing it back to the school leaderships and the district leaderships that may have been missing a piece that allows something to get through. So, for instance, if there's an incident at a school where there's fighting, or if there's an incident in a school where somebody is videotaping, I want to look back at the principal who is the owner of that building and wonder whether their leadership skills have been strengthened and reviewed and evaluated. The reason I say that is because being a business major, looking at Fortune 500 companies, and I speak to my superintendent on this, is that I want to see a professional development organization come in here and really, really grind at leadership and customer service. I don't want to see, and I'm not taking shots at anything, but I don't want to see somebody's friend, somebody that they knew, but I want a world-known organization to come in and say, somebody like Chick-fil-A that would come in and say, we will train your leadership staff in servicing our children's and our community. I have not seen that in the 8 years that I've been here. I've always seen bits and pieces put together, and I blame those bits and pieces. I blame those for where we're at today. I don't think we make the movement that we need to make. Yes, Dr. Smith had one time said, it's great to get 1% of an improvement, but he wants more. And in order to get that more, I think we have to take some risks and get people in here that are going to focus on leadership. Because when something goes down, I can almost guarantee you, if we point back to that leadership, it was them that set up that culture or missed the boat on something.
Sir, if you will allow me, I'd like to address the first part of your question, or question number one that speaks to the SWOT analysis, and direct your attention to the facilities and maintenance samples that we gave you and the nutrition. You'll see that in your board packet, you'll see that there's a very brief background, and then it immediately goes into the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and then we close out with recommendations, and then we give you some particulars that are relative to future impact. In other words, these are your recommendations. If you don't follow these, this is where you're headed.
Right,
so
right.
we have met the letter of the law in that. So if you just look back
Well,
at
there'd be
that.
one that's an overview. Like if I go into GE right now, or if I go into Chick-fil-A, Home Depot, there's going to be one that profiles the entire district and then goes into exactly what you're saying individually into those departments, only to make it easier for my board members to take a quick look and go, these are the things that we should be concentrating on, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, sir. And you know, the general specifics, general observations and considerations, those speak to that in terms of where we are now. We're at the midpoint. So when we end, we will give you an executive summary that speaks to exactly what you're saying. Those particulars are more of a springboard. But the way you're going to really get to the crux of the matter and move it forward is by breaking it down by departments. What are the concerns here and how do we fix it? What are the concerns here and how do we fix it? And then take a look at what are the concerns that are indicative of all of the departments and what are some specifics that we need to do as a district across the board, not just in any one department. I also want to speak to the leadership aspect. I want to let you know that you have 22 induction principals. These are either first-year principals, principals who are they're 3 years or less. Those are induction principals. And I want to share with you that in the audience now, you have the head of professional learning, Dr. Duncan, and you also have Dr. Stevens. I've had the good fortune of meeting with each of them, and Dr. Stevens probably more times than she would like, to find out what are we doing with district leaders. I will tell you, she came on, Dr. Stevens came on in August, and what they have put together, she and Dr. Duncan, since August is unbelievable. I was teasing today about another one of your leaders hit the ground running. Well, that's what Denise Stevens has done under Gloria Duncan's direction. They have a leadership academy. You have some of the best principals that were ever in our district, but in other districts as well. These are your top-notch principals. Principals who were able to move schools forward academically, reduce discipline referrals, provide supports to students beyond the classroom. I'm telling you that in all honesty, and I've been superintendent in 2 districts, and I've been interim in this district. You are where you need to be right now. You are doing some, well, let me just share with Mr. Strecker. What I mean when I say you're where you have principles that you can groom and develop to be what it is you want them to be. This is a question that one of the coaches asked me. What should a principal look like in Clayton County? What is it that we want all principals to have? That's something that the professional learning department has been working on in the last 7 or 8 months. They've developed a plan right now that they're about to implement. And what it does is it looks at schooling from July until June. And it's going to tell principals every month of the school year what you should be focusing on and what the supports that are available to you. These coaches are going into the schools 2, 3, 4 times a week, hand in hand with principals, helping them to understand how to make sound decisions. I always say teachers always had a first year. Everybody was a first year teacher. It didn't always go the way you wanted it. And when you look back with hindsight, you say, oh, if I had only known. Some of our principals are experiencing that too. Superintendent readily recognizes that there needs to be additional leadership development. And they're not just stopping with the school levels. That's going to be implemented with all of your content coordinators. That's going to be implemented with your assistant superintendents. Dr. Stevens and I met today and mapped out a plan in terms of supporting those assistant superintendents, because you're having 3 to come to the table at one time. They may have been good principals, but it's totally different when you get in the chair that you're having to lead principals and you're facing certain specifics that you were not faced with when you were in the principal's chair. I'm going to echo what I just said. You're in the best possible position right now. You have an interim superintendent who understands the needs of your district firsthand because he's been here forever and he's well versed on what's going on in the district. You've got people who have come out of retirement who understand what it is to do. I met with Dr. Hendricks, who was very impromptu today, and we have a meeting scheduled again Friday, an hour-long meeting. But Dr. Hendricks has a very good working knowledge of what's happening everywhere in this district. And to be able to speak with him and tell him this, and he automatically give you data, I'm telling you, you got the right people in the right seats on the bus. What is needed more than anything is very little movement so the people can do their jobs. They need to do professional development. One of the bullets said you need strategic and targeted professional learning for everybody in the district. You're in a good place. It's going to take time. It's going to take you 3 to 5 years to realize everything that we are saying. The good thing is you're getting a jump on it this time of year. So when the ball is snapped in the fall, you don't have to worry about where do we go from here. You will have already had this report. We will have already met with departments. The superintendent is reading everything that we send him. We email him probably 5, 6 times a day. He's probably tired of it. But he is able to speak to it and redirect us as necessary. You're in a good position. And I'm telling you, you're going to see it if you will allow the people to stay the course. That's the key thing right now. Stay the course.
And what I'd like to say is leadership development is so vast. The board is going to have to work with the interim superintendent and staff to really
Scorice told me to
determine.
turn off my mic.
What's that? Oh. Okay, yes. So the board is going to have to work with the interim superintendent and staff to really define that portrait of a leader. Just like you do a portrait of a graduate, what attributes and characteristics do you want in your leaders? And then you backwards design the training that is going to get them to where you want them to go. So the priority has to really be focused on what is a leader in Clayton County Public Schools, and then you back the training up to that.
And that's what Dr. Stevens and I have been talking about over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And that's why I brought the coaches in, because if these are people who are with the principals on a day-to-day basis, they have to have the same vision that Dr. Stevens, Dr. Duncan, and more importantly, the interim superintendent. You're gonna be okay. And Dr. Smith, it doesn't take no prisoners either. He spoke very candidly today that, you know, anybody that is basically, pardon my vernacular, not cutting the mustard, this may not be the best place. So I respect him and honor him for that kind of school of thought. That takes some courageous conversations. Everybody doesn't have the wherewithal to even communicate it, let alone make it happen.
I just wanted to say thank you on March 27th, 2023, because I'll review this tape 5 years from now.
Okay, all right. Look me up. I'll take you to lunch.
Oh, well, anyway, I think I had some other people who had their light on. I was trying to, about to invoke Robert's rules. I believe I saw Ms. Cooper's light. Do you?
Yes, she answered it. I had a question about implementation and also the accountability piece, but she answered it. I know we talked a little bit at the retreat, and I said I'm excited to see what it's going to do. I think this will be a great model to help with our retention. And I'm just excited, and I hope to, I'm waiting to see the final.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Ms. Hill, I thought I also saw your light as well.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. And you also answered my question in the conversation. And I just want to say thank you, and I'm very excited as well.
Thank you, Ms. Hill.
I would also like to add, I thank you for the reports that you've given. I think that you are two of the very best people that can analyze our district, but I don't think that we should, I think you kind of brought something out about even when you said someone has a problem and you're working, you know, you work together. I don't think that we can say that if something happened at a particular place, that we would look at a principal, because we're talking about leadership, and that includes the board as well. So actually, while you're doing your analysis of the district, I think you need to come and have a conversation with some of the board members and see where we are on leadership, because we also have to assume a responsibility. When we sit here and read our board packets and we make decisions about things, we need to be held accountable as well. We can't point the finger, because as they say, when you point the finger to one person, you got fingers pointing back at you. So we also have to take responsibility and decide what is it that we're looking for. And of course, everybody wants to be successful, but we know that nobody's perfect. And even to the point of your talking about beginning teachers, and I'm gonna say this too, since we have all the top tier people in here right now, I know that there are some first year teachers that taught this year. And I know that there are some principals or whoever has the power that may not be willing to retain them. I'm going to ask that maybe you might need to go back and look at those people and think about the fact that we have a teacher shortage, and maybe you need to go back and see if you can work with those individuals and give them a second chance. Because I believe in the God of a second chance. And, you know, luckily for me, when I taught, I could do some things, you know, quite different, because now I don't know if I could make it 10 minutes in the classroom with what you would have to deal with, because I had Jesse's rules. But I think that we need to reconsider. I always believe in giving people a second chance. I'm glad that we have an advocate that's working to give a teacher's perspective, and I'm really appreciative of the information that you all have brought forth to us. And we all need to work together and realize that we are all in this together. And of course, he's over here, a business major. He's like those people that sit down at the Capitol and make all those rules and regulations for us to do in the classroom. And I always say to them, come in and do it yourself. So thank you so much. Are there any other questions, any other comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Madam Chair, members of the board, I'd like to ask Dr. Delphia Young to come up and give us an update about spring testing.
Whew, that was a lot. Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Smith, and audience. Tonight, I will share with you a brief update on the upcoming Georgia milestones, which we call the GMAS. And I'm going to give you a brief overview of the division. Okay. Come on. Okay. So this slide shares with us. So we all know that this is like our final four. Okay, we're in the final four now. And so this would be our Georgia Milestones Assessment and our Georgia Alternative Assessment. And so what you see is a summary of the assessments that we give. For our kids in grades 3 through 8, it's called the end of grade assessment. And just a reminder, that assessment examines students' knowledge of the current year content. So a third grader would take a third grade assessment in language arts and mathematics. A fifth grader would take a fifth grade assessment. And so we call it the end of grade. We have that assessment administered in language arts, mathematics, science in 5th and 8th grade, and social studies only in the 8th grade. And then we also have what we call the end of course test, the EOC. And that is for our students who take high school courses. And that assessment is given to our American literature and composition students in grade 11, typically, Algebra 1 in 9th grade, 10th grade, depending on which grade they take the assessment, and biology and US history. And so that's an overview of the various assessments. This slide simply shares with you the dates of the assessment. And this is important. What we are doing now, and we have been doing in the past couple of years, is stretching out the assessment so it's not going to overburden the staff. Remember, we used to have like 2 weeks to do the assessments. Now we have April and May to administer the assessment, and we do it by grade level so that we will not overburden our students, overburden our staff, and overburden our parents as well. And so we have the main administration. You see the dates listed there. And for more specific dates, please refer to your Exhibit A that was included in the packet. And we also have our makeup dates during these times for students who missed the assessment. I shared with you the elementary and middle school schedule, and now this is the high school schedule. And so we'll be starting our high school schedule a little after spring break. And just a reminder to everyone, we've already had a high school administration that was in December because we're on the block schedule. And so we'll be administering this second time around for the assessment for these second semester students. And then we have something that's called the Georgia Alternative Assessment. And that assessment is offered to ensure that students with significant cognitive disabilities are provided the same access to the state academic content standards and given an opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding and skills of the standards. And so these students don't take the Georgia milestones, They are given a portfolio that is a collection of their work. So they have a STEM, an expectation, the students complete the work, and then the teacher collects that work, puts it in a notebook, and that portfolio is shipped outside of the district and scored by Georgia Department of Education consultants who actually do that work. And then we get a score back. And so this is their opportunity to show what they've learned, even though they have some cognitive disabilities that prevent them from participating in the Georgia milestone. These GAA scores and the Georgia milestone scores make up the large percentage of the CCRPI points. So this is very important time for our kids to come to school ready to take the assessments, and for our staff to continue to give them the support that they need to be, students need to be successful. And so just a quick reminder, the differences between the Georgia milestone and the Georgia alternative assessment, that's there for you to see. I'll stop here and ask, do you have any questions about the testing for the spring?
Ms. Cooper.
Dr. Young, just one quick question. Do we have enough Chromebooks to administer the GMAS?
You just asked that question. I just sent an email to the principals to verify that. Did I not, Mr. Hendricks? Dr. Hendricks? Send an email to the principals to verify? Yes.
What?
I just sent an email
to
verify. She asked if there are enough Chromebooks. There should be enough Chromebooks. There should be. We have purchased enough for there to be enough Chromebooks. However, I want to know for sure that they have enough Chromebooks, and I just sent that email out tonight.
Well, beside the Chromebooks, they can have enough Chromebooks, but this would be my question. Do we have enough technology for everyone to get online to take the test? And I'm gonna speak to, since I see Mr. Smith over there in particular, I want you all to find out whether or not the servers are going to be working at some of our charter schools, such as Utopian Elementary, Utopian Middle, at 7 Pillars Charter, and also at Utopian High School, because right now in the building that the 3 schools are sharing, there is an issue with them when they have to take tests, they have to move somewhere. And I've asked you all, I'm not understanding why you all won't turn the server on or whatever it is that you need to do at that school so that those people can have access and we don't have people having to move them somewhere else to take the test. We need to do everything, have everything in place so that our children don't have issues with the testing.
So I'll answer the first question first about do we have enough Chromebooks? Yes, we have enough Chromebooks. As Dr. Young stated, they're just going back to the schools to ensure that they have enough inventory at the schools. So from an inventory standpoint, from technology, we know we have enough to supply every student a Chromebook to take the assessments, right? To your second question about the charter schools and the servers, and I know server became this big thing where you see some big machine. The server is nothing more than a desktop computer that they use for doing accommodations, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, we are working with every charter school. We have worked with 7 Pillars. I believe we're working with them now. Utopian. So we're going to make that happen. It's going to happen. They'll have a server or a computer so that they can do those accommodations for those students. Honestly, there was never a server there. It was a computer that we use that the state called the server for them to do accommodations. There should not be a problem.
Okay, because I know right now they can't, even with something as simple as doing the access test or whatever testing that needs to be done in those schools, they're having to move. They got to move from where they are over to Forest Park Middle School. And, you know, that's something we should have taken into account.
So my team is aware and we're working on it.
Okay, Ms. Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to know how much weight does this end of the grade year for the high schoolers, How much weight does it carry?
20%.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So the next part of my presentation is just to give you a brief update on what we've been doing thus far in the division. You've heard Dr. Lee and Dr. Gatson talk about many of the things that professional development is doing. We have been working with the various departments within the division to shore up some of our practices. And for example, I've asked Dr. Stevens to reach out to a couple of national recognized organizations, for example, McCrail. And when McCrail, oh, you know McCrail, okay. And so that's the Mid-Continent Research for Education and Learning. It's a national think tank that deals with training and providing professional development for educational leaders. And so we have already begun that work. We also, we have some decisions to make about what kind of training we want them to provide to us. We also are working with the Center of Educational Leadership, which is another national recognized organization, to look at some training for not only our principals, but our assistant superintendents as well. We're also looking at working with Learning Forward, which is another organization here in Georgia and nationwide, because we're going to partner with them to provide training for not only our professional development staff, but our coordinators, the directors, executive directors, anyone who is responsible for providing PD. We want to ensure that the staff has the understanding of the PD standards. We also want them to be able to understand how adults learn. We also want to be able to help them plan more effective professional development. So those are just some of the things that we are working on. And so since you mentioned that, I just wanted to highlight that information. So in addition to all the things that we're trying to do, we are, you can see the slide there. First of all, I want to say that I'm so very proud of working with the people that are in the division. They are very hardworking people. They work and they produce good work. May not always show out in our student outcomes, but their work is of quality work. And it's just a matter of tweaking a few things to ensure that their work pays off. For example, reducing all of the things that we're trying to do to become more focused and prioritize the work that we have to do. Spending more time in the classroom, working side by side with our teachers, not just observing them, but really modeling, demonstrating, talking to them, helping them solve problems, and not with just our teachers, but also with our leaders. And so we're excited about that. We are increasing our collaboration among ourselves so that we're not working in silos. We have relocated some of our staff to give them more space to collaborate. And I think over time, we are going to see these efforts pay off. In addition to what I've just said, excuse me, we looked at our testing program. As I said before, we are reducing the number of our assessment that we administer district-wide. Now, that does not mean that schools are not going to implement assessments. They should, they're supposed to. When a teacher is teaching, he or she should know that that student learned. So yes, we will continue with our classroom assessment. But then the question becomes, what do we do once we find that Delphia has not learned? So we have to help our staff learn what's next. So what? And so we're focusing on staffing up so that we have an individual or individuals to go out into the schools, look at their data with them. This being an educator who has used these data points, hey, look, have you thought about this? Look at this strategy. Let me help you with this. What kind of questions you have? And so we're doing those sorts of things. We like what Dibbles provides us. Is it telling us if our kids are ready to read? Well, we know that's usually done by the teacher, but with all the wonderful artificial intelligence that we have, there's a way to do it differently. And since the board has already paid for this product called a mirror, we will be replacing a dibbles with a mirror. And so students will be using the computer and headsets with microphones to read and speak into. And as such, the software uses artificial intelligence to score the students. Now wait, well, what if it makes a mistake? Teachers have the readings are recorded, and teachers can go back and listen to those recordings and make changes to modify the student's personalized learning plan. So in addition to that, a mirror provides the students with personalized learning plans that they can do in school or at home. So those are some of the things. We also are spending more time, as I said before, in the classrooms. And lastly, on this last slide, we have organizing or reorganizing to increase productivity. We also trying to improve delivery of our services. And beginning next year, we will be implementing a customer satisfaction survey. So when we're in the building, we will send a customer satisfaction survey to our clients. Just like when you go get your car fixed, you remember you get home, by the time you get home, you get this short survey that says, how was our service? That's what we'll be doing. We're also going to sunset some programs that have just been ineffective. And we're still going through that. We have to wait till we get to the end of the year data, and we're going to look at those programs. If they have poor implementation or ineffective, we're going to come back and say, hey, we've looked at this over years. This is not benefiting the district or our students. Our summer school program is not just focusing on academic enrichment, but we're also offering a summer school program to help close some learning gaps. And so we're very excited about that as well. We're excuse me, sorry about that. Calendarizing our lesson standards and activities. So we're putting dates with the standards and activities. So any teacher, novice teacher, veteran teacher would know how much time they have to complete the lessons and go over the standards with the students to ensure that all standards are taught by the end of the year. And then lastly, we're trying to eliminate or revise teaching and learning tools to remove redundancy. So that's what we are so far of many things we have to do. Now, are there any questions?
Are there any questions, board members? Thank you all so much for your input. One thing I would just point out, we talked about all these good things about analyzing leaders. I think one thing I hope that we can engage parents more. I think if we engage our parents more, that will help us. And I really wish that people could just get away from making everything about a number and understand that we are human beings and that our children have missed some things. And of course, we want to improve the numbers, but you should not always base everything on a number. And I would like to, at some point, for you all to have a discussion about taking up those devices, because I was somewhere, I don't know where I was, I saw some books that we're going to purchase, and I really don't see a reason, because y'all still got everybody hooked on the computer. So why buy books? If you're gonna continue to have everybody attached to a computer, what's the purpose?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Young.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, the next items on the agenda are from Superintendent and Chair. Go ahead, Dr. Smith. Go.
Yes, we can get Mrs. Bivens to come up and provide a business services update.
Welcome, Ms. Bivens.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent Dr. Smith. This evening, I will be presenting the financial report for the period ending February 28th, 2023. Is this working? There we go. Gotcha. Okay. So first, we have the general fund budget comparison as of February 28th. We have collected 66.7% of our revenue, which was budgeted at $548.4 million. We collected $365.8 million. Of that, 86.8, we've collected 86.8% of our property taxes, 122.9% of our other local revenue, 54.8% of our QBE state revenue, and 48.3% of our federal revenues. And on the expenditure side, we budgeted $548.2 million. We've spent 58% of that, which is $320.9 million. Our ending fund balance as of February 28th is $219.4 million. Any questions on the finance report before I go to the E-SPLOST? All right. So next we have the E-SPLOST revenue collections as of February 28th. You have the 3 months from December, January, and February. And as in each month, you can see that we collected more than we did in the prior years for December and January. However, we were a little down by $47,000 for the month of February, but that's not unusual. February is usually one of our lowest collections historically. So, any questions on the E-SPLOST? And then the final is our purchasing report that you have in your packet. Report A is for consumables. Report B is our non-consumables. That's greater than $10,000, but less than $50,000. And report C is for contracts greater than $50,000. And if you have any questions on that, our purchasing director, Ms. Brewer, is here to answer those questions. Okay, being none, that's all I have for this evening.
Ms. Baker.
I had sent in a question. I'm trying to find the page. I'm sorry. In regards to purchasing some locks. If I read the report right, and if somebody gave me an answer, I haven't seen it yet. There was 11 locks that came out to close to $11,000. Now, I used to work at Home Depot, so I just want to make sure that might have been a wrong number. Otherwise, are they gold plated?
Oh, Mr. Jones is gonna, okay.
Good evening once again. We did provide a response to that question. It's about $1,000 per hardware. Again, this is not the hardware you buy. It's not residential hardware. So we are accommodating a request from the staff at Jonesboro High School. This is for staff restroom. There's been some incidents about students gaining access. So we are retroactively going backwards to adjust the hardware accordingly.
I don't know what's going on with me and my computer tonight. I can't get I want to discuss, you did have the purchasing report. I can't get mine to pull up. But I have something specific that I guess the one that we have to approve, the $8.5 million for special ed speech services. And basically, I know that we need to spend that kind of money, but I remember years ago, actually I believe it was Artesius Miller that came before us. And this is the question, I guess it's a personnel question, teaching and learning, all of this. Why are we not hiring speech pathologists? And why, if we know that we've got to spend this kind of money, we've been spending this money for a long time. Now, if I was a speech pathologist, I wouldn't apply for a job with you all. I'd just be a contracted employee because I know I would make more money. But why aren't we trying to grow our own speech pathologists? Have we even thought about maybe saying that we will send some people to school and pay for them? Have we looked at, is it cheaper to send somebody to college and make them work for us for a couple of years as opposed to us spending this money every year, because I know in some other school districts, they have them, but we don't ever seem to have speech people in Clayton. And I'm really tired of getting emails from parents that are upset because their kids aren't getting services. I remember when my own granddaughter came to Clayton, missed a whole semester of services because of that. Do we have any type of a plan of action? Because I know, I mean, I'm going to approve because we need them, but have we put any thought to that?
Good evening, Madam Chair. Drop the mic.
It's hot.
Well, we do recognize that is a very significant challenge, not only for us, but across the nation as we try to secure speech personnel, speech pathologists to come in and provide those speech services. That is a significant challenge. We're open to any suggestions to be able to assist with this particular challenge as we try to ensure that we're providing services to all those students. I'll let Ms. Smith speak to the second part of that question.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board. Go ahead. To answer your question, as far as things that we've looked into, we definitely have looked at all of our options as far as supporting speech, and we do want to bring speech therapists on as full-time employees. We're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place because when you start contracting therapists, they have to kind of continue with that personnel because you'll be in non-compete clauses, and it's something that we've worked into our latest RFP so that when we get through this third year, we can try to start bringing some of them on, and that'll be this next year after this renewal that we can start attracting them into full-time hires. So that's our goal, is in the 23-24 school year to start bringing on attraction for full-time hires to start gaining some more employees. The double-edged sword is in the colleges, they have a limited number of speech therapists that they can take into collegiate programs, and that's because of how many supervisors they provide at the college level. So that's what we're stuck with in trying to work with college programs, and we're trying very hard, but we are competing with all of Metro Atlanta in fighting over the same pool of speech therapists.
Do we need to go outside of the state or get us an exclusive deal with with a college or something?
Absolutely, and we're open to looking into all of that.
Okay.
And that's all I have for this evening.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Joseph, thank you, Ms. Bivens.
Good evening once again, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Smith. You've received the E-SPLOST construction update for the month of March. One payment was made for $1.6 million at Morrow High School. There were no change orders for this period. Additionally, you received the executive summary for the new Forest Park Middle School. Bids were received on Tuesday, February 28th. 2 bids were received. The recommendation is that we award the project to Media Construction out of Peachtree City for the base amount of $82 million. The bid included 34.67% SLBE participation. We acknowledge that this bid is a bit over budget. So what we're asking the board is to, prior to they're taking actions on April the 10th, we will work with the apparent low bidder on value engineer's option. We will send an email out to you all tomorrow with some options. And in the next 2 weeks, we will present a change order to remove or to adjust those scopes accordingly to get the price within budget. So the plan is, again, for a contract amount of $82 million, we will issue a value engineer option to reduce the cost by $7 million, to revise the contract amount to $75 million. Again, there's $5.5 million of state funding, and so that will get a bottom line at $69.4 million of local funds. Again, we will summarize this in a report to you all tomorrow. Are there any questions?
You say you're going to reduce it. Is there any, my whole thing is all that glass and everything. If there's not a way to reduce some of that, some of the design, because everybody likes those pretty designs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll see in the summary that we provided, we will address some of the aluminum curtain wall and sort of change, it's gonna be a change of materials, be it carpet, wood trimming, sod for turf, windows. So we're gonna keep the structure the same. You all are all familiar with the video that we presented. So the overall product will be the same, but we will value engineer some of the material selections.
So have you covered everything on your report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna say this, since, what was the original, what did we really originally think we would spend for this school?
65 million.
So we're up,
Based, by the time we do the change order and refocus the scope of work in that particular facility without making any real design change, we're looking to get that cost down to 69, which will be $4 million over our budget.
okay. Well, for the proposed North Clayton High School, is that a Perkins Wells? We've already selected them as a designer?
We have.
All right. For that school, for the money that we're paying, that school needs to have an auditorium. We should not build any more schools for the money that we're paying and we don't have auditoriums in them. You can go to every other county, you're gonna find an auditorium inside of their building. We deserve that.
Duly noted.
Noted.
Dr. Haney, do you have a question? You want to make a comment? Okay. Ms. Williams, yes.
I don't know how my microphone works. Their group that wanted to help do some stuff with the middle school as it's being built, are they donating any kind of money or anything? Or do you know? I can't think what the name of the group was, but they did like some little project to try to better the school once it's built. Do you remember?
Oh, I think you're referring to the
I can't think of what the name is, but they wanted to do some kind of add on some stuff.
reimagining schools. Yes, they were more of a consultant. They provide their service free of cost. So we connected them with the architect of record. So we had a series of meetings with the community to provide input and to reimagine schools. So part of this project is to incorporate some of those ideas that we have with the community. And there's a section of the school that incorporates those designs.
But they don't have any funds to kind of, they can offset or do some of this stuff?
No, ma'am. There were a grant funding, and the funding that they had was pertained to the design, not the construction.
Well, thank you.
All right.
And I'm gonna reiterate that one more time. You can tell them to go look at that nice design when I came, when they lured me over to their table to get back into Clayton. I believe that the Drew Charter School has everything in it. I know they can draw one with an auditorium in it.
Yes, ma'am.
Noted.
And probably we don't need to put these, whatever these different themes are, for different superintendents, because we had one thing that we would put, they might take some money off of it as well. Just put Clayton County Public Schools,
Yes, ma'am.
probably. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Ms. Albritton.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, other members of the board, Interim Superintendent Dr. Smith, colleagues, and community members. The Personnel Changes Report summarizes all personnel actions for the period of February 10th through March 8th, 2023. All human resources updates were submitted to the Board of Education for your review. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
No questions, board members? Looks like you're clean. Ms. Albritton.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Chair, those are all of my updates.
Right. I believe the next thing that we have are board matters and the J policies. I'm gonna ask that all of the board members actually go through the J policies and read those very carefully and try to make certain that when we come to our second read, that we have everything. We don't need to hold those up because we need to do our student handbook. But I do want to go point out one thing that I noticed at the very beginning of these policies. If I can get my mouse to work. If we go to policy JCEB, and that is under the out-of-school suspension. That's under 2, and it says that wait a minute, I can't even see. It says that the principal or designee shall afford the student his or her due process by giving the student oral or written notice of the charges. I don't think you need to have an R in there. I believe you need to have an, because if you're talking about suspension or expulsion, you don't want to orally say something to someone. Those children need to have that in writing, and the parent needs to have it in writing. So if you don't mind, can you put "and" in that spot?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Is it okay if we look at that and have a conversation about that issue?
I can't hear you.
Is it okay if we look at that and have a conversation about that issue?
Yes, because I hear parents call complaining that they get home and then their child is suspended. They don't have anything in writing. They're telling the child, and I think that's something that we need to put in writing. Ms. Baker.
On that same thing, down on the next one, it's talking about a written confirmation of delivery shall be, and it used to be obtained and now it's requested. And it says if it's delivered in person. And I think that we need to look at that because, you hand it to somebody and they don't sign it or whatever. The parent comes back and says, I never got it. Right. And so it's he said, she said kind of thing. And I think that could be a problem. So I don't know the reasoning for that. But so that's my question on that one.
Yes, I had the same question looking at that. I think if we're talking about having a safe environment, I think we need to have everything in place as far as looking at those particular policies. Are there any other comments, board members? Seeing none, just let's make sure we examine them very closely. The next item that I have on the agenda is the agenda for our April 10th. Please, everybody make sure you know that we have a board meeting on April 10th. That is the Monday after spring break. We're doing that for a number of reasons. We don't want to push, just have one meeting next month. We have a lot of student recognitions that we need to do. And we need to have everything in place so that we can close the school year out. I think that we have covered almost everything, but before everyone runs out, Mr. Interim Superintendent, I think you wanted to say something.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you so much. I'd just like for our colleagues to know that one of our great colleagues, Dr. Ralph Simpson's son, got drafted by the Tampa Bay Rays last year, and he was called up today to play in his first major league game against the Yankees. And obviously, Dr. Simpson is supporting his son. That's why he's not present tonight.
Right. Parent being a parent first. And before we close out, I would be neglectful if I didn't acknowledge a certain individual that's sitting behind us, our board coordinator, Dr. Shantara Rump Carter. If you'll stand up, ma'am. We tried to serenade her on Friday. She's reached one of those milestones You know, that fabulous 5-0, the big 5-0. So before we leave tonight, we want to say happy birthday to Dr. Shantara Rump Carter. I know that. I got it. I'm trying to do my job right here. Want to recognize our board member. And can we have a real quick rendition?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Rump Carter. Happy birthday to you. All right. No, we can't go yet, Mr. Straker. Before we leave, we need a motion for approval of the proposed agenda for the April 10th, 2023 board meeting. Yes, Mr. Christmas.
So move.
Thank you. Ms. Baker. Second. All right, I need your votes, please. Oh, Ms. Seal, you want to come down? Or did you? All right, is there any other things? We have a unanimous vote. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.